so excited to be sitting down with both of you for your work on FX's Love Story. It is such a hit. Courtney and Nicole, your work on the show is being wildly praised for taking a creative swing and casting fresh faces like Paul Anthony Kelly and Sarah Pidgeon to play two of the most heavily photographed icons of the 90s. When you first met with Ryan Murphy, what was the primary directive or tonal note he gave you about how these two needed to feel on screen?
I think from the very beginning, and credit to Ryan, is that he always saw these two roles as unknowns and fresh faces so as to not bring any pre-existing baggage to characters with such a storied past. So we knew from the very beginning that we were looking for unknowns.
But unknowns who could carry a show and who had chemistry with each other and who audiences would fall in love with.
Which they definitely did. We'll get to the chemistry read in just a bit, but you've co-casted a few of Ryan Murphy's projects. What is it like working with him?
I mean, it's incredible. He's incredibly collaborative and he wants to hear everyone's opinion. And on top of that, actors really love working on his shows because first of all, they're creatively exhilarating. And also once you're in with his company, you're in with his company and you know that you're going to have additional opportunities and you're going to be taken care of and you're going to have great writing and great costumes and great co-stars. And it's never hard to get someone interested in working on a Ryan show.
He also has great taste, and I think our tastes align really well. And Love Story is a great example of that we all sort of came together in unison to find these characters.
What type of talent do you think he likes to see the most?
I guess that's really a question for him because it's a real combo of having heavy hitters and fresh faces. And our show is a good example of that, where we have Naomi Watts playing Jackie, who is, just an A-list star. And then Paul, who is a brand new face for all of us.
Yeah, I think he likes giving opportunity to actors who maybe in other avenues wouldn't have, as much opportunity, especially in TV.
There's a real pride that comes along with giving somebody their break, and watching them succeed and continue on. And I know Nicole and I feel so proud of this cast. And then watching Paul is now working on American Horror Story, seeing him continue and he's doing another feature. You're just really proud of what's happening.
Well, unlike other historical figures you've cast for Ryan's anthologies, Carolyn Bessette notoriously never gave media interviews, meaning the public really only knows her through silent paparazzi footage and just a fashion context. When you were auditioning her part, how did you evaluate an audition tape for a character who is defined by this mystique, silence, and presence rather than spoken dialogue?
Well, I think Sarah nailed that so well because she is such a gifted actor. And I think that Sarah has that innate elegance and sophistication and mystery, but also kindness and warmth and all the things that we had read about Carolyn. Sarah is as a person and also was so, easily conveyed in her audition scenes and obviously in the series. It was just so clear we saw a bunch of auditions and we saw a bunch of actresses and it was just not even a question.
I read that she went as far as photoshopping her hair blonde.
The story we heard was her agent's assistant sent us an AI photo of Sarah with blonde hair. And when we knew it was Sarah before the blonde hair, but when we saw the blonde hair, we were just immediately convinced that there was no one else. It was amazing. It looked incredible, the photo.
Well, they really are magnetic when you see them on the screen. But I really do want to talk about before that with Paul's casting, as it's known that his tape arrived early through the audition process, but you kept searching. At what point did you both realize his audition was actually what you were looking for to play JFK Jr.?
I think the first step in that process was, so he did audition. We'd seen the tape, we'd shared it, but like for whatever reason, it didn't stick. And then we were getting down to the wire and we had an additional producer session over Zoom. And we had Paul as a part of that Zoom audition. And I think everybody was sort of intrigued and the antenna went up and it was like, there's something here. And when it was showed to Ryan, he was the one who was like, yes, absolutely. This guy needs to come and screen test with Sarah. And then when they did their chemistry read, it was immediate. There was just, electricity.
Do you remember the moment that made you say, that's our John and Carolyn? Like, was there a specific moment during that read?
Well, there was something that happened even before the read. I mean, things were looking really good for Paul. I remember like before he even came in the room, we were seeing photos of him in hair and makeup. And it was just like, whoa, he really, really looks like him. And then his agent called. Things were falling into place. His agent called and he had his dog with him. And the agent was like, he has his huge dog. I don't know what to do. Is there a place that he can like put him at the chemistry read? We're freaked out. And we were like, bring the dog. Like he has to bring the dog.
It's so JFK to show up with your dog to the audition.
And so that's just a little anecdote. But no, it was just clear. Sarah read with some other actors who were fine, great actors and would have been great choices. But you could tell how she reacted towards him. And it was pretty immediate. And then he drove her home. Well, she told him and then he drove her. It was all just like, it was all fall. After such a long search, everything fell into place actually fairly easily and quickly.
When looking at self-tapes for a 90s icon, can you spot an actor who maybe feels too modern for that type of role?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, you can tell when someone is an unaltered beauty, natural through and through, who, has a classic elegance of a certain time period. I think there's a difference between 2020s girls and 90s girls.
Yes.
And men.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, you can tell. I think that's part of I think that's part of why it was so hard to find Paul. I think a lot of it, the men who are going into this profession these days don't necessarily have the same physicality as they used to. And that was, paramount in who we cast.
There's a, kind of the saying that there's a smartphone face. So it's like, do you feel like there are times when you are casting, you're like, that person looks like they've seen a phone or cell phone?
That's really interesting. I've never heard that before, but yeah, for sure. That's very true.
Well, I also want to talk about Naomi Watts. She's a frequent Ryan Murphy collaborator, but playing Jackie Kennedy is a huge undertaking. Was she always the top choice or did you audition or look at other heavyweights?
No, she was, again, kudos to Ryan, but she was always the choice for Jackie. And we went to her and that was it. We never auditioned anyone.
Mm-hmm. It's phenomenal. So is Grace Gummer. She had to step into the shoes of a living icon whose family history is heavily documented. When you were watching auditions for a role with that much real world weight, how do you judge if an actor can maybe stay true to their own vision instead of just maybe copying public expectations?
Grace's audition, I never felt like I was watching like a caricature of Caroline. I felt like we were watching an actress who like understood the depths of what this woman she would be portraying has been through. And she brought like a groundedness and just, and she was intellectual and it was grounded and heavy, but not dour. I mean, Grace brought everything that we felt like we needed in this.
She brought a real thoughtfulness to the character and sensitivity to the role.
Yeah. Her moments with Paul were always like
so touching.
Also good chemistry. They never had a chemistry, but also had really good chemistry.
They were very believable as brother and sister.
Yeah.
You both have mentioned that finding new faces keeps your job interesting. When an actor has zero credits and no agent. How do you actually get their tape in front of you?
I mean, there are ways. We cast a different show a few years ago when we cast two twin girls off of TikTok. I mean, I do think there is a time and a place for casting like that. We will also post notices.
We do open calls. Yeah. There are resources out there for people who maybe are not represented that we access when looking for certain roles. It is challenging if they don't have an agent or a manager, any kind of representation, but there are ways and loopholes to get in front of a casting director.
If we are riding in an Uber and our Uber driver looks remotely like someone, we'll say to tape.
For actors looking to get noticed, what is a specific trait in their self-tape that makes you say, we need to keep an eye on them?
I think being prepared is the number one most important rule of thumb for an actor when you do an audition is, nowadays I know everything is so much of it is self-tape, but sending in a finished self-tape, it doesn't have to be perfect quality, perfect anything. We're not looking for them
be
to
in your
spend
closet.
Money. You can be in your car. Honestly, we do not care. We don't ever say oh, we can't take this seriously because this isn't done in a studio. But just being prepared and knowing what you're reading in the scene and feeling connected to it.
And never go too broad. It generally doesn't play well.
When an actor maybe gets a redirect in the room, what's the biggest mistake they make when trying to apply your note that they should be aware of?
I don't think there are any mistakes in redirects. I think we're working with each other. I would say just a piece of encouraging advice. I know that they've prepared the scene their way so many times, and sometimes it's really difficult to move in another direction, which I completely understand. But just don't get frustrated and be willing to try new things. We're not, if the take doesn't work, that's okay.
An audition is a work in progress. We're not looking for a finished production here when we see an audition. So, and a lot of times we give a note that just says, let's play around. Let's see, because we're trying to see what their capabilities are. So we just want to see it another way just to see what the actors can do. So it's just have fun with it.
Was there any audition for Love Story where you gave them a redirect and what they did and took with them was a lasting impression for you?
Good question. Let me think. I mean, Sarah was always able to just roll with the punches and, try different things and give us a different flavor. She was really, she's just a really spectacular actress. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Sydney Lemon also was able to totally pivot because she had originally auditioned for a different role. We were we love you. Gave her the Lauren sides, and she gave us something completely different with Lauren, which was really impressive.
I love when that happens too, when they come in for another role.
Layla George as well, who plays Kelly Klein. She came in for a different role, and we watched her audition and thought, oh, she's so Kelly. She should be Kelly.
Outside of Love Story, you both also work on a slew of other projects like Disney's Percy Jackson. For young actors who are trying to get in the room with someone like yourselves, what advice would you give to them?
Be hungry and go after it and don't give up.
Don't get discouraged. It's very discouraging.
Yeah, I could see that. We release breakdowns and thousands of people are submitted for roles, and there's a lot of people out there doing this job. But I think they should just really, going.
And as hard as it is, if you really wanted a role and you went after and you didn't get it, most times it's not personal. There's 20 reasons why someone books a role over someone else. And most oftentimes it has, only an ounce of that is talent. There's so many things that go into these decisions.
We get asked all the time for feedback. We get always, what's the feedback? Why, if it's not going any further, what can we tell our client? And so many times it's there's no specific feedback. Truly, it's really not. It's just that the director responded to somebody else. It's as simple as that. So
it really is. And there's always nice to know that you may not be right for that specific role, but there's another part out there for you.
Yeah.
You will.
And we hang on. We have, folders that we hang on to when we read people, new people, old people that, we just love. And we're always thinking, oh, where else could we put this person?
And if there is specific feedback, like if something happened that we think, would benefit the actor to know, we call the rep and say, listen, I know it's not always easy to hear, but like, I think this would help in the future.